This is season 5 of the Foy and Jones Show, and in episode 9, I'm joined by Damian Sheridan of Stoltz Kitchens. Here we go. This, unbelievably, is still season 5 of the Foy and Jones Show. This season, we are getting back to business. In episode 9, we bring to the studio, and he hasn't travelled anywhere near as far as many of our previous guests. He's travelled from Worthing, so West Sussex to, I guess, Brighton, which is almost East Sussex. Is it East Sussex?
It is.
Let's call it East Sussex. Let's make sure. There is an invisible border, which we talk about. Damian Sheridan, welcome back. Well, welcome to the Foy and Jones Show podcast. You are being welcomed back because you was a guest on the Lockdown Diaries, wasn't you, sir?
I was indeed. Very enjoyable it was too.
The Lockdown Diaries started as a drunken conversation between mine and my wife and I. It turned into a series of video interviews that captured a moment in time. The podcast, we are back together again, and we want to stay back together again. The podcast is talking about our businesses, ourselves as people, getting back to business. So we're going to get your take on it, Damian. We'll get your business's take on it. I think from to paint the picture, you know, we were talking just before we went off air, and you said, Peter, I'm different to a lot of your guests. You know, my business is new. You know, it's 4 years in, and we've been through Brexit and a global pandemic in those 4 years. So that's tick and tick. But we are non-retail. We're non-digital to an extent, and we offer something very different. So just for the benefit of those that don't know you, for the listeners and connections who haven't come across you before, just introduce yourself, Damian. Tell us who you are, what you do, and paint the pictures.
Okay, Damian Sheridan. I'm a sales director of Stoltz Kitchens, and Stoltz is a business which we formed 4 years ago. I was approached by a German investor who wanted to set up a kitchen framework. So we, as part of the group, we have Stoltz, which does the contract kitchens, and we have Precision Stone, which is a stone fabrication business. So yeah, it's not retail; it is purely to developers, and we do predominantly German kitchens. We also do Italian kitchens. We have a UK supply route as well. So it's really a case of all things are covered. And Stoltz is German for proud, and we picked that name very specifically because we're proud of what we do. We want our customers to be proud to use us, and our tagline is proud to be different. Because when we set the business up, if we're the same as everyone else in the market, why would anyone take a risk on us? So we have to be different.
And it's a boring world if we're all the same.
Exactly.
I was talking last week at an event, and I said that let's be honest, it was borderline controversial, but I got away with it because I think I was smiling and I had some trainers on, so I think it was okay, you know. But I was saying the world is full of forgettable people. You know, they pass you, you don't recognise them, you don't remember them. But if you are doing something that you're proud of, or you're doing something which you consider fun, and again, something you spoke about off air, you love what you do, you don't see it as work, you enjoy what you do, and that comes through. But when we pick Damian Sheridan up and we take you out of the daytime or out of the day job, you are local here, you've got a lot going on with your family, and we've got a whole section of this podcast, producer Charlie, about spaniels. How about that? It's going to be Let's Talk Spaniels. I've got to ask for the listeners because I'm going to tell them. Most people know I've got a dog called Snoop Dogg, although Charlie doesn't call him Snoop, he decides to call him Scoop. But, you know, he'll respond to that. But Snoop Dogg has a double. He has a double, and that double is Eddie. How is Eddie getting on in West Sussex?
He is really good. Yeah, he's very popular with everyone in the family and the surrounding neighbourhood. He was at agility course last night. But my wife and I can't both go in there because he never knows who to go to. So I have to sit in the car for him to get around the course. But no, he's pretty good at that.
Very good at the dog edge, yeah?
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah,
but Snoop had quite a challenging go with his lessons because we booked a course of 10 at the lovely Plumpton at the Plumpton Village Hall. You know, rock and roll. You know, these are the desirable locations. We went to lesson 1 and he did okay. We didn't make lesson 2 because I think it clashed with the KBB show. By lesson 3, we were locked down. That was it. There was no more. And when the lovely trainer, she's got the kennels as you go past the tunnel on the A27. You see
No,
the
yeah,
stone
yeah.
dog gargoyles, right? She got the kennels there. She's lovely. She rang me up in around October and said, "Oh, do you want to come back? We've got another call starting in November, December." I went, "Probably do the December one." Booked onto that. We're back lockdown again. I'm like, so when she came back again by March, I said, "You know what? He's all right. You know, we've got by." But spaniels are wonderful dogs. They're energetic dogs. Is the family okay? Because obviously you've got a family as well as a dog. Everything good?
Yeah, everyone is good. Yeah, my wife and I, 6 kids between us, so 4 of them live at home most of the time. So yeah, everyone is good and getting on with stuff, and everyone's fit and healthy, which is the important stuff. So yeah.
And from a Damian Sheridan perspective with Stoltz, how has this year played out for you? You know, we last spoke, I think, just after Christmas time, and we were getting ready for the end, or moving towards the end of the third lockdown. The customer base you target and the customer base you work with, Damian, you know, I get this because of my builder's merchant days, you know. So those developers, they know how to buy. They know they manage their supply chain well. They manage it aggressively, and the projects you're involved in, you know, you can see them. There's some quite showstoppers there, and there's a desire for them. How have they reacted to the market as it is now, and how is the market for you at the moment?
The market for us is full of opportunity, I would say. This year has been a year where we have battened down the hatches and we've created the pipeline. So, you know, I know one of your previous series was all about being back to basics, and that's sort of what I have done in terms of generating the pipeline of opportunity. The way I look at it, you know, if you pick some arbitrary numbers, if you want to sell £5 million in a year, because of delays and gestation periods and stuff, you probably need £8 million worth of orders. Conversion rates in my market is typically 20-25% probably. So if you're going to do £8 million worth of orders, you need to be doing £40 million worth of quotes. What customer base can give you £40 million of quotes over a year? What's your typical inquiry is going to be? You know, and our inquiries range, you know, a lot of the projects we're working on are £2.5, £3, £4 million, but we also do your 100 granders as well, because if you get the balance, you protect yourself. So have 2 or 3 big projects that you're working on, you know, and potentially you don't want to land them all because that might be too much for you. But you've got to be in the game to win it.
But that's a dark art in itself, though, isn't it? So in a way, you're almost picking your victims is the wrong word, but you're targeting the businesses which work for you at that moment in time. If you've got capacity, you can bring some. You bring some of the more attractive smaller projects in. If you are at full tilt and you've got your commitment, and you know there's a commitment and a demand and that pressure that comes from the larger jobs, because it's a constant pressure. It comes from all angles, doesn't it? That must take managing. But what I've noticed, and it's more from the outside looking in, is that as a team, you hang out in Hempfield, don't you? That's where you hang out. You're all very tight. You all seem to really get on and bounce off each other. Is that was the recruitment part of that, or were you friends first and it came together?
A bit really. I mean, most of it is from finding people with the right mindset. So, you know, as a directorship, we were quite tight. Unfortunately, one of our key guys did die, and he was a fundamental part of getting us all together, and we miss him every day. And part of the legacy that we want to give him is building a success of the business. But yeah, we are tight, and we're all different, and we all carry different roles. But what we want to achieve is the same. We banned the phrase "that'll do," because you should never accept that'll do. It means that you're compromising on something, and sometimes that can be really hard not to compromise, because it's easier to get the job done if you do. And I think, you know, our tagline, "Proud to be different," is really what we're trying to set the business up to be. Like I said before, if as a startup, if we go to the Barclay Group and say, you know what, we've got no accounts, we've got no history behind us other than as individuals. Yeah, you know, can we take a big job, please? There has to be a reason for them to do it, and that reason can't always be price.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking before, I have no issue with people selling on price if that's their business model and the customers know what they're buying and they can make money on it.
And you gave some really good, I mean, some very different examples of businesses and shops we all go into that are completely driven by price point. And they draw you in. You will always go. You know, I think I look at our weekly shop, and it's a mixture of there, and it's kind of part of the fun. But it is understanding, I guess, your position.
And that's part of the, when you say the dark art of the qualification, it's understanding your customer base and what they want to achieve. And, part of why we picked a German name is because that will immediately segregate those customers who don't want to pay for German engineered product. I'm not saying that UK product is so much worse, because we do sell UK products as well, and I've a history of selling UK product. But there is a perception and a quality that comes with German engineered product. And with that comes a price. And so we sell on value, we don't sell on cost. And that means that there will be certain volume builders who don't want to afford our product. They could afford it, but it doesn't suit every one of their developments. There'll be some developments where they do want it. If in central London, a top 3 builder we have worked for in that market. Will we be doing a top 3 builder site in Worthing or Arundel? No, we won't, because there'll be people who can do the product cheaper for what they're after. So we find the product that suits the customer that we're talking to. One of our core values is right product, right price, and that's for them and for us.
And that right product, right price, that fits so much. And you spoke about the business, and I love it in a way. And you don't have a showroom at the moment,
no.
And you are a startup, and you're going toe to toe with established businesses, right? That's a credit to the people, the personalities, and the energy that's in there. And something you said earlier on is something which I think it comes through, is that in terms of style beating substance, style doesn't beat substance. Substance beats style for you is the way you said, wasn't it? That was it. I mean, do this part again. I want to get this right. For you, it's style doesn't beat substance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me do it again. So we lose all that there. So Damian, in terms of kind of how you approach other aspects of the business, so the digital aspects or the trading aspects, style versus substance versus style. Bring that to life for me, and what that means to you and your team.
Okay, and so if you look at, I'm in my mid-40s, despite looking 10 years older, and the digital age is not something I'm comfortable with. I am very much a Luddite, and it's always quite amusing in our business that I've got the best computer and only use it for Excel and Word and can't do anything else on it. And then you look at today's youth. I sound like a very old man saying that, but I look at my kids and it's all TikTok and Instagram, and there is a persona that you put out into the social media world to get the likes and almost the affirmation that they're looking for. And, if you look at LinkedIn, I can put a post up on LinkedIn and get 2,500 views and 80 likes. But if someone doesn't send me an inquiry, what has it achieved? Yes, it's built a brand, it's built awareness and so on and so forth. But all of that is to get someone to send me something to price. So that, like I said before, if I price it, I can quote it, I can win it, I can sell it. And that's really what it's all about.
And you never lose sight of those numbers, do you? It's always front and centre in everything you do. Yeah. And I get that. So, there are people that are inflated over likes. Likes are for ego. Likes are, I'm not saying they breed arrogance, but, there is the counter argument is it's a real human being that has been bothered to press that or respond to it.
Or it's a bot.
But sometimes it can happen through algorithms. It can happen because my boss says so, and it's forced. We've seen examples of false kindness. We've seen examples of being seen to do the right thing rather than actually doing the right thing. And I believe that, if you have the engagement, and by real engagement, that's people commenting, people getting involved, people messaging you, people asking if you can help them in whatever the situation is, and it turns into something tangible, that's an amazing place to be in.
Yeah, and there are influencers out there who build a career on the like, so I'm not saying it's not right for everybody. What I'm saying is for my business in my market at this moment in time, and for the next 3, 4, 5 years, that's what I need to do, because I need to create the substance to create the base to build from. 2022 we're going to sell over twice as much as we sold in 2021 because of the work that we've done bringing in the opportunities, the deals we've done with certain builders that have got 3, 4, 5 years longevity to them, and that will then give us the next step to take, and so we'll be, in the 2 months leading up to the pandemic, our run rate was going to be 10 million quid a year, and that was the start of year 3. It's good numbers, then the pandemic happened and we, had to batten down the hatches and shrink it right back. But, next year we'll be into double-digit numbers again because the opportunity's there and the work that we're doing.
And you don't double your turnover by chance. No. You don't double your inquiries. You don't double your opportunities. You don't execute them by chance. There is work. There's blood, sweat, toil, and tears, as Winston Churchill would say, to get you to that point. And turning that around, you've always adopted the principles. It came through in the lockdown diaries. It came through in other things. You've adopted the principle of getting back to basics. So this podcast is about back to business. So we're looking at how the KBB sector, the merchant sector, the construction sector, and other allied industries have responded, rebounded. We've seen people stand up above the parapet. We've seen people go head down. We've seen the examples in the best of humanity. We've seen examples of the worst in humanity. I think from your perspective, Damian, the role of a sales director, targeting the customers you do, that has challenges now which you would never have foreseen before. How are you adapting to them on a daily basis? Like, what does your week, your day, your month look like? I mean, that's something I think that listeners would really, because you look at people, you go, oh, he's a sales director, oh, he's a marketing director. Okay, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, and I think it's different in a small business to a big business. When I had 15 salespeople running for me and a target of 65 million quid, there is a lot more ivory tower sitting that happens. And I worked really hard in my career to get promoted so I didn't have to make another cold phone call and then did a startup. So you end up hitting the phone a lot. And I think it's interesting as well when you look at working from home and how much harder it is now to get hold of people, because if you don't have someone's mobile number or direct email, it is much harder to get in touch with them than it was previously. And that's where I think something like LinkedIn happens. And, I always taught my sales guys to, if you're going to work on targets, 10 or 15 is the most that you can work on, because if you're working on 40 or 50, you're doing all of it badly. So focus on ideally 10 and do your research. And that research involved going to the building site, because you can speak to the sales negotiator and really get an understanding of what they're selling and what products and whatever. And then get onto the building site, because the site manager will tell you stuff, because he's trained to put bricks and blocks together. He's not trained to be a gatekeeper. So he'll tell you about your current supplier. He'll give you that mobile number of that key decision maker. Because when COVID happened, you couldn't do any of that. Yeah. So all of my techniques are saying this is absolutely the right way to sell.
If I could have took you back in time, right, I would love to have took that answer, that part of it there, back in time and just dropped you into my London sales conference when I was Juicing sales director. and the amount of time we were trying to win the hearts and minds and saying, like, there's a skip, there's a scaffold, there's a new site, go on it. Yeah. Talk to walk on there, be fun. Like, you will gather so much information. Don't get the person who's going to push you back in the office straight away until you've got something for them. That there, in a way that I could never encapsulate that well, boom. And it is, because you start talking about their football team on site, you start talking about what's late, and you find out that they're late. Oh, they always get let down by these people. Yeah. You're almost getting your answers. You're getting your pitch, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. And it's surprising how often you bump into the senior decision maker in a cabin, because they do director visits. They're out and about doing their jobs. But of course, that is an avenue which is cut off and then is back open and cut off again. And so I'm lucky that I've got 20 years experience and I've got a lot of contacts, and that is an avenue that I keep going down, and it's picking the right time for what's going on in their lives and their businesses as well. But it's finding, using things like LinkedIn, putting up the post to get the right engagement, finding that, I still drive past a site, still make note of the board, still look at who they're selling, and then, the phone conversation that you then try and generate has to be different to this is a sales call, and you can't do the research that you normally would have done. So you've got to be a little bit creative with that side of things as well. But it's creating the right opportunity with the right customer.
I would say with I wouldn't say I'm an influencer in any way. Maybe a micro influencer, Charlie. Would you say I'm one of those? Maybe that's a thing. Apparently, it's a thing. But with the size of the network I have and the presence I have, I would say daily basis I get 30 to 40 messages on LinkedIn coming in, and they could be in a range of businesses that want to talk recruitment, businesses that want to talk digital marketing or virtual 360 tours, individuals that through no fault of their own might be job seeking, or people that are dipping their toe in the water, maybe thinking about a new job. But what happens with that is that you kind of get quite, oh, it's enough message. And I always, have a look at my profile. Have you got anything for me? Those, and you're like thinking, well, in today's day and age, we don't have a hidden drawer of jobs that we don't share with the world. Like, we've got a position vacant. We're lucky enough to have a project. We are putting that project out. You're going to see what we've got. And then what gets my attention? Something that might, my ego, it might mention that Fulham have won. It might mention one of my recent posts. It might have a little video, voice message, something like that. And you go, oh, they've tried.
How do you stand out from the crowd?
They've got me. They've got me. I'm in now. I'm in. And I'm going to respond to it. And we adopt that at our business. And again, you mentioned something. Chances of me ringing someone and them answering the phone and going, "Hi Peter, how are you?" It doesn't happen. You might get lucky. You might time it well. We were laughing about, Charlie. We were laughing about my best work's done between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning and 4 and 9 o'clock at night. I kid you not with that. I used to do a big speech about, we work vampire hours. We come out when others stop work, but that's the best time. Life-changing. I'm talking to Damian about a career-changing, or Charlie about a life-changing career opportunity. Do you want to talk to me between 2 and 3, between your next 2 client meetings? No. You want to talk to us as a business when you've got time. And being able to recognise that and stand out is what we do. So my business will send video messages as a hello. We will put a video into a simple email, and to see what we want to say, you've got to listen to the video, and actually it draws people in. If you look at any analysis now, people will remember what they see on a video quicker than they remember what they've written, and the world's not going to go back to how it was. So we've had to adapt, and we've had to make changes. I think what we'll do, Damian, in the next half of the podcast, is we'll just talk about how we see this year rolling, where we see the challenges facing, and maybe just give some back to basics and back to business advice for job seekers, players in our industry, and just people in general to keep themselves upbeat and keep themselves going there. Thank you very much for coming across today. Be good to catch up on all things Eddie. I've got a little thing that I think Eddie and Soup can be doing this year as well, but we'll come on to that. Sure. Great first half of the show. You enjoying yourself?
Yeah, having a good time.
Life-changing recruitment for the KBB, builders merchant and construction industries. Creative social content, specialist knowledge, world-leading video technology, helping you find career happiness and helping your business attract its stars of the future. We are Foyne Jones. This is what we do.
Thank you so much for listening. Before we go on, big shout out to our sponsors. Without you, the series doesn't happen. So thank you to MHK Holding UK. Episode 9, we've got Damian Sheridan back in a Jones Digital episode. One of the things you spoke so passionately about during the lockdown diaries was going back to basics. And I think if we go all the way back in your journey, Damian, you've got a great story to tell about why you become a salesman. Because it's honest, it's open, it's humble, and it's made me laugh. So if we share that with my listeners and connections, I think it's going to make them smile as well. Why did you get into sales, Damian?
Well, I was 20 years old. I had been manager of builders merchants. I'd been made redundant, and I wasn't trained to do anything. I needed a car, and basically that's why I became a salesman. Yeah. And I always remember the Brett Martin salesman Roger used to come into my builders merchants with his red Vauxhall Cavalier, and I thought, God, he's got it made.
He's living the dream, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah.
I had a guy like that. His name was Keith. He's a good top lad. He was my rep when I was at Travis in Fulham, and he had a red car as well, funny enough. And this is how he had me on a plate, right? He used to come in, he'd buy me a little bacon roll. He said, if you do, have you got any new accounts, any leads? And I'm like, I've got them all here for you, Keith. Yeah, exactly. Here's 20 new customers that I can tell you what football team they support, what their jobs are. He said, do you fancy a beer after work? He'd buy me one beer. I'm like, I'm in with a guy. I want to be you. He must have gone home laughing his head off. I was smashing his new account ratio for him just over the counter.
Yeah, exactly.
But I loved it. And he was like, I'll put a good word in with Mark Tanner, we'll get you a sales. And I didn't become a sales rep, but it is that there's no master plan sometimes, is there? You did it because you like what he did, and did it grow from there for you? And that was in a different day, wasn't it, when that happened?
Yeah, that was in a day where you have a pocket full of 10p's because you need to phone in your order from a phone box, and the phone box smells of urine and half of them don't work, and that's and sat nav wasn't a thing. You drive with the A to Z on your lap, and you became very skilled at reading road signs in the mirror as you're driven past them, and that's how you found your way around.
I found when we took some storage. This storage has been all over the world. But I found my old London A to Z when I was a rep with Travis. The big. I found it, and I'm like, that was. If I was in Fulham and I had a job in Battersea, and it was like St John's Hill, it was off St John's Hill, but it was a road. I don't know, Dermot Close. I'm never going to find that without that. I only need to probably look at it once or twice and realise it's the third left when I turn on. But that's how we got about, wasn't it?
Yeah, and my area was Shrewsbury down to High Wycombe because I lived in Birmingham at the time. So, I didn't know Nottingham very well, or Derby, or Walsall. It's just you needed them. But yeah, I'm very lucky that I found a career that I loved in an industry that I loved, and I'm really passionate about it, and I also appreciate how lucky I am.
Yeah, and that's important, isn't it? Is that we are blessed in a way that I've got that. I've got it now where I'm 19 years in. I'm in my 19th year, so 18 years in with the Foyne Jones Recruitment Group, and we've evolved, we've changed, and where we are now, I really enjoy everything we do. I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy the people that work with me. I enjoy the clients and the projects that we're involved in, and I do sometimes think, what would I change? And I don't think I'd change anything. I've made good decisions, I've made bad decisions, I've made okay decisions, but everything I've done, it still goes back to what I learnt on my granddad's market stall. It was personality, it was the power of communication, it was doing a deal, having fun, and making sure that those old ladies that remembered me and my granddad on our stall, because we were more friendly, we had more banter, we asked them how they were getting on, and that just carries on going through. And have you found from your perspective that some of those skills you learn in the early days, you're still throwing them out there now?
Yeah, I do, and I've probably sold. I've been kitchen sales for 21 years now, and I've probably sold around £450 million worth of kitchens.
The £450 million man. There you go.
Yeah, and
there's a TV series.
But all because of the guys that I work with, guys and girls, and it makes me really proud when I look back on the teams that I've had and how many senior people within other kitchen companies have worked with me or for me at some point, and that's probably my greatest achievement, because anyone can say we sold 400 million quid. I haven't sold 400 million quid. My target has cumulatively been that, and that's what we've achieved. But that seeing how some of the guys I work with develop, and one of the guys who's a sales director at another kitchen company, messaged me and said, I still throw some of your old lines around, and yes, we have a script when we're selling, but it's more than that. I believe passionately in what I say. It's not just a trite line coming off to get the job done.
But when that sales director's saying that to you, that's genuine. That there's warmth there. I've worked for quite a few people over the years, certainly in my corporate days, not since 2003, but there's only one individual, one man that I still call boss. He's the only one, and he probably had the most influence on me, apart from my father-in-law and my close friends. He had the most influence on my career when I needed it, and Mark Tanner, shout out to Mark Tanner. He listens, he's been a guest on the podcast a couple of times, survival series, and he's been on the podcast before in season 1. Mark was an amazing sales manager, and if he genuinely said to me, we're 4 or 5 flights up here. If he said jump out that window, I would have jumped out the window for him, because he was my gaffer, and he gave me that chance, and he had those people skills. He taught me that you can manage people in a way that makes them want to work with you, and there was respect, there was kindness, there was a kick up the backside when it was needed, but he delivered it the right way. If you were really down, he delivered it in a different way to when you just needed to be not so flash, and it was a different management. But I would never have got to sales director level in my 20s if it wasn't for his mentorship and his support. And actually, my career overtook him when we was in merchants, but it never felt that way. He was always still my boss. You know, and I always looked at him like that. Recruited for him. You know, he's semi-retired now, but he's doing some great stuff. And you look back on single moments in time, and if he hadn't encouraged me, him and Chris Larkin encouraged me to go for a, God rest his soul, Chris Larkin, but if they encouraged me at 23 to go for a regional sales manager's job, you know, huge promotion, sort of moving from there, I know you can see it on the video, so moving from there to there in terms of career, but jumping 4 or 5 levels when arguably everyone's saying you're not ready, they said, go for it, you can do it. You
learn on the job.
Yeah, and I got it. You know, I got it. You know, if you're a 17-year-old superstar footballer like Wayne Rooney or Michael Owen, you play. You know, exactly. There's no different to our world for that. So with the next generation attracting the stars of the future, what would you say to someone beginning their career who's going into your route to market with kitchens? What should they look out for on that journey? How can they do better?
I think it's really a triumvirate. There's 3 things. I call it the milking stool, the old milking stool with the 3 legs. And you know, and if one of those legs is weak, you're going to end up on your arse. And those 3 things are really, you know, product knowledge, sales skills, and attitude. I can give product knowledge, I can give sales skills. The attitude comes with them, and you know, positive mental attitude, PMA, all that Americanisms. Only one person can make them get out of bed and want to achieve, and that's them. And you know, if they don't have that drive and that tenacity and that will to get on with it, they won't achieve what they could achieve. And it's as simple as that. You know, there is no substitute for hard work.
And that resonates. So everyone we spoke to, you know, Elle, who was a brilliant guest in the last episode, she's had to knock over stereotypes. All right, so she's knocked over so many stereotypes to get to the position she's in now, and she's knocking them over every day. And she said, you know, believe it, you can make it happen, go for it. Don't say no for an answer, and I think for me, I love it when my guests can bring that down and you break it down, because you take out the science, you take out the politics, you take out the corporate talk, and actually you can control that. I would love a world, Damian, where what you said there replicates itself in the recruitment process, because I'm going to upset some of the HR managers that listen to this. I will upset some of the hiring managers I'm working with now, because they will sit in a room like this or on a video call with me, and they will say to me, I will go product knowledge, market experience and attitude, and it'll be attitude first, attitude and personality, then understanding the market, and product knowledge is down the bottom. And I'll say, okay, fine, so that's what we're looking for. Then when we get to the money end, so many people still play safe. They play safe, and I'm like, but you've told me. Yeah. And they're like, well, no, but, you know, they've worked for 3 years for a competitor and it just feels like they can hit the ground running. Yeah. So I said, so what are they going to do in a year's time when they're tired? You know, because they're not going to grow anymore. That's the level they're at. And I'm not undermining those individuals because they've got good careers. Yeah. But if that's what you want, tell us that's what you want, because that's what we get you.
But I think it depends what sort of team you're putting together, because you're not going to have a team full of, you know, Cristiano Ronaldos. You're not going to have a team full of, you know, Aaron Ramsdales. It's about getting that balance, and you know, you will have the guys who will hit the numbers, the same number every year, and give you that consistency. But actually, that's really useful to have as well, so that your other guys who are more flash in the pan, because you know the challenge I always had managing my sales guys was getting them to deliver the same consistent number on an upward trend every year, because you would often have someone delivering 5 million quid, 2 million quid, 5 million quid, 2 million quid, and that's because they didn't manage the pipeline. So when the 5 million quid happened, they then had to manage the 5 million quid. They weren't spending the time building the next pipeline. You know, it's like the old saying, if you want a good January, work really hard in December. Don't switch off in December, because that's actually January, February, March's numbers that you're working on there. And particularly in my industry, where decisions take forever to get made. Everyone needs their designs and their quotes tomorrow, and then won't look at it for 6 months. So that pressure has always been there, and will always be that way, because I'm really focused on one package, they're focused on 15, and that's the nature of the beast. But it does mean that you've always got to be working on an 18-month rolling pipeline, and that's where the hard work needs to come in, because you won't win an opportunity on month one of that 18-month process, but you can lose it. And so you've got to do your qualification quickly. You've got to keep the right activity up. You've got to keep enough hairs in the race so that you can decide which ones you're going to really back when it comes to the crucial time.
And managing the pipelines, it's so crucial, because it's you also get excited when you score a goal, don't you? You know, but it
doesn't matter the side, how you score the goal. You still get excited.
But that football team doesn't win again if they don't go back to the training ground, and if they don't prepare, they don't practice, they don't do their homeworks. And I bring football into every podcast. And have you seen Fulham's league position, Damian?
I have. That's in the Championship, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it's in the Championship, but we are at the very top of the Championship. Although Fulham fans, don't know what's happened to them, not me included, they're revolting, right? We are revolting because whilst we're still top of our division, no one's better than us, and whilst we've scored more goals than anyone else in the country, and we've got the top scorer in Europe, I think, in Alexander Mitrovic, we've how dare we've not won our last 3 games. We've only drew them. Mm-hmm. It's not okay.
No.
Apparently it's not okay. We want more. I mean, these boys and girls that are giving it large on social media again, you know, the digital keyboard warriors, they've got to be careful what they wish for, mate, because I've seen us lose to Yeovil Town in the FA Cup and then get beat by like Mansfield at home in a fallen down Craven Cottage. Still gone back the next week, but we've got to be careful what we wish for.
Well, as an Arsenal fan, I sort of understand that as well. You spend 10 years wanting Wenger out, and then
you get what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you know what? I mean, I never dreamt of Fulham ever playing Arsenal, apart from maybe an FA Cup third round. I saw us play them every year for 13 seasons. Then we dropped out, and we came back for a year. We dropped out spectacularly. We came back. We dropped out again. My only wish for the football is that this time around, if we get up, and we'd have to really trip. Oh God, be careful what I say now. I'll get it. We'd have to really trip ourselves up to not get promoted with our squad and the way we're playing. Juventus and AC Milan could take Mitro, which might be a problem, but I don't think he's going to go there. If he would have gone there, he'd have gone there early in his career.
Sadly, he's between the divisions, isn't he? He's not good enough for the Premier League,
and he's far too good for the Championship. He's far too good for the Championship. Apart from though, when he played against 2 Premier League defenders, which I mean we're recording now, but when he played against Bournemouth and they had Gary Cahill and Cook. They are 2 Premier League defenders, and they bossed that. They're the reason we didn't win 5-1. Yeah. And the game was 1-1 because of those 2 centre-halves. It wasn't about who won. The football match was won by Fulham. The result was 1-1 because those 2 defenders absolutely bossed Mitro. And that's the difference. There's a lot of Cahill and Cooks in there. Yeah. And that goes back to and I'll get back to your work adage, that goes back to you need them regular performers. That, I remember listening to Dean Saunders talking about football, and he's saying, you pick your 7 and 8 out of 10s first, because if you've got 6 or 7 of them in a team, you're not going to lose that many games. You're going to be all right. You need a superstar goal scorer. You need someone else like dictating play. But it's those consistent performers that win you the title. The goal scorer, they get the plaudits. They put the ball in the net, and that's why they're lauded.
And if it's Granit Xhaka, they're the foundation which stops you progressing and moving forward and moves you backwards every time.
There you go.
And is an absolute liability constantly. But there you go.
Charlie's laughing away. When football comes in, it is there. So let's wrap up the football, and we go back to our closing message on this podcast, Damian. What do you think? What's your hopes for Arsenal 2022 and beyond? Will you have the same gaffer? Where do you see it going?
I think we will have the same gaffer because we're not a club that hires and fires particularly. I think that the advent of the youth and the way that he supported them through has been great. The problem is they will make mistakes. They won't have the legs for a season. They need the experienced performers to step up. And when you look at Aubameyang, it's not about the money, but since that contract been signed, he hasn't been the same player. He's in his early 30s now. We need someone else to come in with the creativity, because that's the bit we're missing.
Smith Rowe's looking warm now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, but I don't understand why he's playing out left, because he's a number 10. He's not a left winger. But we bought Odegaard, and so we're trying to fit them both in. But I would personally be playing Smith Rowe as a number 10. Like Aubameyang out left because he's played his whole career there, and you put Lacazette or someone else, Martinelli up front.
Different player, kind of different positions, but I see that a little bit with Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson can play on the left. I mean, we've got a song about him playing on the right. His name is Harry Wilson. His right foot, his left foot is dynamite. We've got the song about that, but But actually, I think he's more effective playing like in the hole, in the number 10 role, because he's a great baller. So you want to, in the Championship, you want him on the ball all the time.
If someone can run with the ball, defenders can't touch him.
Yeah.
And Smith Rowe is one of the best in the division at doing that. But you put him out left, he doesn't affect enough games.
He's got himself in the squad, gets himself a goal, didn't he? I mean, they were goals for fun in that little bout of games, weren't they? You're kind of there. So look, good luck for the season with Arsenal, first and foremost. Hopefully, Damian, there's an invitation coming. If we claw ourselves back into that top flight, you and the family or a couple of guests, you're welcome to come to Craven Cottage with me. Spiritual home of football. Lovely experience. You can come and watch Fulham take on Arsenal. We don't normally do that well against them, but you know,
I'm more than keen on going then.
Yeah, but you never know. You never know. Damian, let's wrap the podcast up. All right, it's been brilliant to get you back on. Let's wrap the podcast up with just a closing message on what your expectations are for the KBB industry, the element of it which you're involved in for the rest of this year. How do you see it playing out, sir?
I think that there will be challenges from a delivery point of view. I mean, the appliance shortages are well documented, and I think everyone in the industry will know about those. So it's really about communication, because understanding that your customers can live with bad news if they know about it. If you don't tell them bad news, they will always be expecting the good stuff to happen. You know, I've always believed in being honest and transparent, and I think that, you know, people trust you because of that. And you know, not every order is a good order. That there is huge opportunities out there. My advice to anyone in sort of my position or a similar business would be: understand your customer base. Go for the ones who understand what you can bring to the party. Because if you try to be something you're not, it will always fail.
Fantastic. Damian, thank you so much for coming on today. I said I've got something else I wanted to talk to you about. I think I'm showing my age, and I'm bringing you into my age group, so it's tough. You're going to have to come on this journey with me. In years gone by, I would have said, let's meet for a beer in Brighton, let's go to a lake bar, let's go out clubbing, let's do something, you know, which the younger crowd do. I'm going to suggest something. I think that we've been putting together for Snoop some Snoop Dogg Meets little videos, right? Okay. And he's been getting quite popular, Snoop is. I mean, cool. You know, when we first spoke on the, you said, "Oh yeah, I've got a dog like yours." We never met, you know. But I'd love to do, if you're up for it, we can meet somewhere in the middle. So like the Brighton Hove Beach sounds something sensible. Let's round Hove Lagoon way. Let's do a Snoop Dogg meets Eddie. Eddie moment. We'll get Charlie, the producer, to bring his camera. We'll film them running around. We'll grab a drink afterwards. Maybe sometime cool. January, February next year. Fancy that?
Would be perfect.
Okay, so Snoop meets Eddie is in the diary. We'll book up Charlie, the producer. Damian, good luck for the remainder of 2022. Let's see what the future brings. We'll get the Spaniels together. Keep doing the basics right. We'll join you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. This was episode 9 of the Foyne Jones Show, and this season we are getting you back to business. Thanks for listening. That's the end of the podcast. In next week's episode, we've got a very, very special guest. He's got a career in kitchens behind him, but he's now a professional boxer. Brad Cousins is going to be in this studio. Look forward to that episode. See you next week.